Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the regular City Prescott Planning Commission meeting to order, Monday, October 2nd, 6 o'clock. Roll call. Kate?
Here.
David? Here. Josh? Here. Steve?
Here.
All right. So, next item on the agenda is to approve the Planning Commission minutes from August 7th.
Motion to approve the August 7th meeting minutes.
Second.
A motion, a second to approve the minutes from August. Is there any discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next item on the agenda is approve or site plan review for 415 North Acres Road. Take it away, Carter.
Thank you. All right, so site plan review for 1415 North Acres Road. So a little bit of background on the property. This is lot 4 of the North Acres Business Park. It is zoned the I-3 mixed industrial, and they're proposing a 4,450 square foot expansion on an already existing 2,200 square foot retail use for a total of 6,650 square feet on the site. So right away, architecture, they're proposing the building to be 34 feet in height. The front facade will be what they call a board and batten metal paneling with stone wainscot and timber beam feature on the frontage. There'll be partial board and batten style on the south elevation. You can kind of see it. I know this whiteboard kind of washes out the colors, but that's kind of the pattern there. The west and north elevations would be steel siding as well, so you can see the entire view. Board and batten here with the timber and stone wainscot. That would be continued on this south elevation. Then we'd have steel siding on the north and west elevations. For landscaping, our new landscaping code would put this into the L2 basic landscape designation. So that's 1 tree per 30 linear feet of lot frontage and 6 shrubs per 30 linear feet of lot frontage. So that's 10 trees and 60 shrubs total. They met that in what they submitted. They currently, before what they were adding, they would have 37,711 square feet of impervious surface, but they're reducing that to 34,766. So they're coming under the maximum lot coverage for impervious surface with their improvements, which would be a strip of landscape adding to this island here, and then a strip up there as well. For stormwater management, it's essentially remaining the same, so surface drainage that drains towards the south into open area or into storm sewer inlets along the roadway. Once again, reducing their impervious surface from 37,711 to 34,766 square feet. Utilities are expected to remain the same as well. Their access off the expansion of North Acres Road there. And their building expansion would also connect to the existing utilities as well. For parking, their site plan displayed 22 proposed spaces, which meets our new requirement of 1 space per 300 square feet of floor area. The front parking along North Acres Road would now meet the setback from the right-of-way. It used to butt up right against the right-of-way line there, but since they're adding the strip of green space there, they're now meeting that 15-foot setback from the right-of-way. Outdoor lighting and signage. If there's any external lighting, it must meet our Sydney ordinance 635-56. Any new signs with the development would be subject to sign application and permit review per 635-63. Any questions and comments? We can take them. Our staff recommendation in the memo was to approve the site plan for 1415 North Acres Road with the conditions listed in the resolution. We have the owners of River City Stitch here in attendance, as well as ACA and Auth Consulting, correct? Here as well. Oh, yep, together. So, any questions, staff could handle it, or if it's specific questions for the owners or the consultants, they could handle it as well.
I didn't have any.
I think it looks great.
Straightforward, and meets the setbacks, not in easements.
The north side of the building has, that's a many straight feet of no obstacles, right? Didn't we just, in that 400-page code rewrite we didn't we talk about breaking up long straight surfaces?
Yeah, it does
35
state
feet?
that within there. I believe it's mainly aimed towards the frontage of the building, so anything that's butting a public street.
Sure.
That's what that would be subject to. So like rear and side sides of buildings, it wouldn't necessarily be subject to that.
Good point. But yeah, that
Just a
energy
lot of
is
siding.
Straight, it's changed, it's turned, so really that's the side of the building.
Yeah, and this would be the area, the side that's facing Clifton Township
Yep.
up there. So.
I think it's great.
Yeah, very well done.
I motion to approve resolution 4123, pass it to the city council.
Second.
A motion and a second to pass. Let me get back to this. Resolution, what number?
4123.
4123. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
So now it goes towards the council, and the council got to approve it next week.
So basically show up to that meeting as well.
Yeah, it'd be a good idea.
Okay.
In case anybody has any questions or comments or anything.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is discussion on intermodal containers for exterior storage and residential units.
Thank you, Mayor and Plan Commission members. So a little bit of background, over the past couple months, we have been receiving some requests in terms of intermodal containers, which often you're used to referring those as shipping containers or storage containers. One of the things specifically that has been requested is to have storage containers or intermodal containers as permanent accessory storage structures on a residential lot. Another request we just received actually with last week was a request to consider a storage container or intermodal container as a residential unit. So with that being said, we just wanted to have a discussion with Planning Commission. So under the current revisions that we just made to commercial, multifamily, industrial buildings and accessory structure, should be compatible with the principal structure in the same terms of character, roof shape, building materials, color, and architectural detail. We don't have any sort of rules and regulations regarding temporary use. The current requirement of proposed use we would be no longer than 120 days of a residential, commercial, and industrial properties. One of the things we'd also consider, you see them every once in a while, those temporary moving storage containers that's people get, so that would still what we'd be considering 120 days or less. As a residential unit, in terms of a building container, that wouldn't fit under our code 635-10 with roofing and siding, meaning all structures and located in a residential district shall be covered with finished exterior siding materials such as a finished roof and a finished soffit unless prior approval is given by yourselves. So basically, we just wanted to make sure that we're getting input from Plan Commission and get your feedback. So the three things just before you, what we want your feedback on is: one, we wouldn't allow any permanent intermodal container as an accessory structure in an industrial, commercial, or residential zoned area. Number two, intermodal containers can be kept as temporary storage for residential, commercial, and industrial buildings as long as they do not exceed 120 days on site. And then number three, any request for a container as a residential unit would have to come before you for any sort of consideration with documentation, including scale drawings, sketches, colored renderings, and a narrative description of building materials. So with that, we're looking for your feedback on these three items. I'll turn it over for Plan Commission for comment or question.
I guess I agree with number one. I don't think we should have any permanent intermodal containers.
No, not just the containers themselves.
Because then they become an accessory structure, and don't all of our buildings have to have at least a roof and a soffit? So
Correct.
I think we keep it as no
Well, then-
permanent
Okay,
intermodal.
but then go down to 3.
Now it becomes a residential
But then-
building, not an accessory structure, but go ahead.
But what I'm getting at is, couldn't you have, if they want it to be a permanent accessory structure, like say you want to make it into your shed, you could, hey, come to Plan Commission, you know what, it has to have a roof and soffit, and it can't look like that fell off the truck in your backyard.
That's a good point, yep.
What's the difference if it's their
That or a pole building.
main unit or accessory?
I agree with that.
So as long as they put a roof on it and sided it,
I
is that
think
what
if
you're
it-
saying?
Like if
I'm,
it,
well, I'm saying they would come before the council and say, this is my plan, I have a roof and soffit, and, you know, maybe you don't side it because it's already got metal and it looks kind of like a shed, the metal part.
Right.
I don't know if you, like, in this picture, it's kind of a pretty house.
Either they are,
Yeah,
they
they
can be.
can be. So I mean,
So-
if you do something like that with a shed and you wanna use it as your shed or like, I don't know, just a accessory structure on your lot, I don't know why you couldn't, as long as it didn't look like shit.
Yeah,
I mean, crap.
So what's the general size of them? They're pretty good size. They gotta be at least
10 by 40, I think is the biggest.
Yeah, I know they vary somewhat in size.
10 by 20 and 10 by 40, I think it's the ones I've
those
seen.
are the common
because that
size.
would depend on how much
30% of rear yard and.
It's just like,
room you have
just
in
like
your
all the other
yard for
rules, you have to follow all the
accessory
rules.
So then you'd say instead of number 1, you'd say eliminate that and say, you could say, or number 1 could be like number 3. Any views for an accessory structure must meet the criteria of a roof and an overhang and gotta come before the planning commission.
So we would, basically what you're saying was we would do the similar as number 3, we would allow accessory structure, but we would require at least some sort of color rendering or sketches to make
Yep.
sure that it's meeting those, and we bring that before you for consideration at that time.
Yeah, I would have a problem.
End up.
Are we doing that for every shed though?
No.
So this would be different, the fact that every shed has to go through Alcroy for a permit and review, and we review it in terms of planning, so make sure it meets setbacks and things, but we don't bring every shed to,
I don't think we should bring these to council or planning commission either then.
Well, then-
As long as, like, why can't they go through Alcroy?
I think the point what we were making is they have to have higher standards in terms of making sure that they have the colored renderings
Than
and
just
they're
a
meeting.
box.
Than just a metal box. But that's a decision for you guys.
And there's some missing verbiage that catches these in the current laws, right? The current ordinances, there's nothing in there for some of this stuff, so that's where it's tricky to treat them like other types of structures.
You're asking, right?
I mean, a shed's a shed, right? I don't know.
But it's not a shed, because it would be, if someone just wants to plop down a container in their yard and call it a shed, then, I mean,
what, so how do we define shed in our current?
I don't have,
Well, it's just an
Quasi,
accessory structure, you don't, doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
That's what I'm saying.
I think basically
So
what,
it's just another accessory structure, as
Yep.
long as it meets our standards, then why we gotta bring it to council?
the current code is just accessory structure should be compatible with the principal structure in terms of character, roof shape, building materials, color, and
There you go.
architectural detail.
I don't think we need to bring them all, we don't need to bring these things to council or to planning commission as long as they meet those standards.
Do you change that standard state though? They meet the standard of an accessory structure. It's gotta match the house, so if it's corrugated steel, I don't know.
But how many people's sheds match
Color
their
wise,
house? A lot.
color wise it would be, yeah.
mine doesn't.
There's that.
You know, a lot of people have steel sheds. that
But
they
again,
don't
it's like
have
saying,
steel.
We have a lot of people non-conforming with
Yeah.
our,
that doesn't mean,
Standards
I always say it doesn't mean you continue to let
I
people be
agree.
non-conforming.
I
That's like saying,
agree.
okay, then partly I could say, well, then I can pull a semi and call it a trailer, and part could say it's a shed. Well, it's a shed, it's really a semi-trailer, but it's a shed. This is a shipping container. Yes, it's a storage container, but is it, does it meet the character of the neighborhood is what we're trying to say. Would you want 5 of these that got the orange and they're half rusted sit next to your house? I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at.
I agree. I'm just saying, do we need to bring all these?
How many do you think we're gonna have?
Not
Do you
many.
think like half the town's gonna buy a shipping
No.
container and put it
But-
in their yard?
And so, good point, I would say, if we get a lot of them, at that point, we change the ordinance to somehow just do it so staff can do it. That would be one way of doing it. You could do an ordinance now just saying, hey, that it has to have a roof,
What if
this
we-
and this, and staff can approve
I
it.
just don't see how it's any different than just any other shed. It's gotta meet the conform with the standards and
Well, right,
Yes.
I can see your point to that because we're going through the process right now with all, right, like, they do look at everything and kind of approve it, so couldn't they say, hey guys, the shipping container really doesn't, you have to do something else to it? I mean, to be fair, couldn't they
Just-
do that?
Just to be clear, all Croy reviews it from a building code standpoint, from a planning standpoint, we handle that internally in between Carter and myself, so we would be the one reviewing it in terms of making sure it meets character, roof shape, building materials, color, and architectural detail. If you're fine with that, we can continue to do that.
I feel like you guys can do that.
Because in the last 2 years, we've had a total of 4 people reach out and talk about it's not extremely popular. I just want to make sure that we're covering the conversation with you all, so we're not approving or looking at something that you come back and are like, what were we thinking?
And it doesn't mean that if you two don't feel comfortable with what they're proposing, you couldn't bring it to the planning commission.
Yes, I would still say if somebody really wants to do a residential unit, we'd still bring that, but if it's this accessory
Right.
structure.
Okay, so the accessory structure, again, we're fine with, well, you have to change that, it's not,
So we would no longer say no permanent, we would say permanent is allowed as long as they're meeting code.
Yeah.
right, and if they want to object and they say you're not making the right call, then you can bring it to here. Or if you feel you want assistance in
And
it.
once they find out they have to put a roof and siding and stuff on it, it's probably not worth. They could probably buy a building down the street here cheaper than that.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Maybe.
Those containers are cheap though.
Couple grand,
Huh?
couple grand,
Two,
1,500.
Yeah, because they're throwaways.
Might be a little rusty, might not.
Okay.
So, all right, so
Okay.
for now, we'll just leave it as is. That's, I guess I'm okay with that.
Yep.
And then number 2.
Number 2 can stay the same.
I think so.
Somebody gets one just thrown in their driveway because they're moving or
Right.
remodeling or something.
Can we commercial, they need a little storage for a short period of time, I don't see a problem with that short period of time. As long as the short period doesn't become 2 years. It says that up there, so.
120 days.
And number 3, I'm, as a building inspector of all, they gotta meet the building codes, there's a lot of engineering to putting one of those in. So they're probably gonna put money and time and make them look nice, but I don't think it hurts to have it come by here, but again, you can do the same with staff and Todd and kinda look at it and say, yeah, we think it meets the intent of the code, and if they don't, they can bring it to the committee.
Yeah. That'd be
I
fine.
like that.
And if it's like a way funky one, I think it comes here, and if it's something that looks like a house and it wouldn't stick out, not a problem.
Okay. I think that's what we were looking for, thank you.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so other business, next meeting is Monday, November 6th. Any other business, Matt?
We have 2 things.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll throw it to Carter first.
Yeah, so we did receive word earlier today that Ace Hardware is no longer going to be moving into the Churchill building, citing for a number of reasons,
Financing.
building design delays, engineering delays, state review times, and changing banking requirements, so they will no longer be going into that building. We don't know what the plan moving forward is from the owners of that building, they just don't have a plan at the moment, but we might hear from them in the future.
Second item is, right now, in terms of overall plan commission packets, we have them hand-delivered. Just wondering if that's still beneficial to everyone, or if they find with receiving electronically and we can still have printouts when you arrive, or how, does anybody have any feedback one way or the other?
I like the paper copy.
Here or paper copy hand delivered?
Well, either mailed or hand delivered, either one.
And I like electronics so I can review it, but it's nice to have paper when I'm sitting up here.
Yeah, it's nice to have paper when I'm sitting up here. My neighbors like to talk about when the cops stop by, drop it off.
Okay.
You ever walk out?
You like the story, don't you? Walk back to the car with your hands behind your back, that'd be good.
So maybe we'll make paper copies for everybody at the dais, and then we'll have one delivered, or mail it to Josh, and then everybody else. It's fine. Okay. That's all we have.
Is that it?
Yep.
A motion to adjourn? Oh, John beat me. Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
My wife watched the city council meeting online.
Uh-huh.